COTE, I wanted to start with you because I always find it interesting when actors have a little Shakespearean stint in their career. And you got to play perhaps the lesser known Shakespearean Juliet in Measure for Measure.
Lesser known, very well. As opposed to the really well known one.
Exactly,
it has all
yes.
of the fun, falling in love, and then dying.
Well, it's a perfect kind of comparison because your Juliet had to learn some hard lessons. Her love never wavers. There's a little bit of overlap. I'm putting you on the spot, but can you see any other similarities between her and Ziva?
You know, the whole love theme is actually working for me. That's actually quite... first of all, I'll give you kudos because that was the most original entrance we've had.
Yes.
You coming in with a little bit of Shakespeare.
Little Juliet.
Little Juliet, that's good, you know. Going
back
far away times. But beautiful times. I think, I've always been interested in that. Like, really, there is no... To me, there's like... I think it's the reason why I got into theater. I think it's the reason why you want to tell the story. I think anyone... It's funny because Michael always says, well, we didn't become actors because we're normal.
Yeah.
Or because you're sane, or because you're healthy, like up here.
You don't become an actor because your childhood went well. That's always my...
And I have to say, like,
you
become... I know I had a beautiful childhood, but I have to say, levels of sensitivity and sensibility and how we perceive things, they are altered by events that as children we perceive as certain things. Like, for example, I left at 10. I left my country, and I think it did something to me, So I think the idea of loss and love and all those themes are really important to me. Those are things that I deal with on a regular basis.
Do you think that happens, that actors generally... Not, but you do kind of gravitate and find yourself drawn, even just getting cast in things that do resonate with what you're seeking, what your journey is?
I think there's a little bit of life imitate art.
Or do you find that once you get into that character, that then you express yourself in that character? Like Tony DiNozzo was originally an Italian homicide cop whose instincts could only come from the street. Clearly, that's not what happened. So
clearly that's not Michael.
Right. So sometimes the actor or actress, it changes how the whole play unfolds. So it's interesting how that informs it. It's like, I wonder how much COTE de PABLO really created Ziva.
Yeah, and yet, for example, I have some actor friends that I adore, and what they love really is they love the book stuff of it, all the table work, everything that you have to, the research, I need to research this, and they're all about the research. That's their preparation.
Oh, and you can talk about me. I'm right here.
I know.
My exegesis on this character was rather...
It's his process.
It's a process.
Well, Michael, I'm going to continue the Shakespearean thread because the more famous Shakespearean Juliet, to mirror her story, T and Z, always seem to be like star-crossed lovers.
Yes.
So I'm curious, do you feel that their romance or the relationship is a doomed one?
Doomed to love you.
I'm doomed.
I know, there is that great song that was written for the show, Doomed to Loving You.
Yeah. I will find you in every lifetime. I will haunt you. I mean, it's like, it's epic.
Big.
The lyrics
big
are
love.
pretty intense.
I think this is something that when we were first discussing the sort of elements of the show years ago, because there's no use spending years of your life doing something if it's not fully an investigation of your own wonder and awe and fascination with the universe. So the universe of love that we have for each other as friends is fully explored as this star-crossed, it's not will they, won't they, it's what the hell is going on with they. Because we swirl around each other and get so caught up in these like storms around
But they
each
are
other.
a complete mirror to each other.
When we fight, it's the best.
They mirror each other in the greatest of ways. So they're learning from each other. They're pushing each other to be their best version. It's a total growth thing that happens with them, and I think it happens because they cannot run away from this thing that they inevitably feel. So they have to keep fighting. You know?
Which was always there. It's just that on the mothership, we had a dead body and there were some clues and there was a red herring and we had to tell it.
So we couldn't really explore it, but we did.
So we would do sort of like, these little investigations of stuff. And the writers did an amazing job of planting so many seeds across all those seasons that we were able to, sow and reap, what had been sown.
And we really did live in the mothership in the subtext, which is not what's going on this incantation.
Oh yeah, this show is...
This is very much about like facing the thing and not playing the subtext.
Yeah, it's big.
Which is different.
Well, speaking of different, and you had kind of talked about this a little bit already, COTE, when Ziva opens up a language school, I found that a very interesting character choice because it says a lot about a person who wants to become an educator. Sure. And NCIS, I think, had really dealt with different leadership styles, Gibbs being a surrogate father almost as well. Where do you see Ziva in terms of the spectrum when it comes to her role as a leader, as an educator, and even as a mother?
I think you just said the key word. I think right now, because she is a mother, I think she wants to give back. There is something that she has, which is this ability to speak, different languages, which is really a part of her past.
And what I also got from it was communication. Because one of the funny bits of Ziva was always the malapropism that would come out in all sorts of different ways,
That was the 20 years ago version,
And so for that to graduate to this level where there's a language school,
and also she really is done with the fighting. She doesn't want to hold, she doesn't
You've
want to...
never fought more.
Well, no, but that's the irony, right? And that's not something that she wants. That's just something that she has to do. And she's got a special set of skills that she will have to use, And then, of course, this whole thing about, raising this child and the potential threats that this child may encounter push her to sort of become the best and also the worst version of herself, You get to see her sort of reconcile the past with her dad and, us having these very deep conversations about, like, we don't want to be, like our parents. We said we wouldn't do this, and yet you keep sort of somehow that past seeps into these relationships. And it all happens out of fear. Like, how can I make sure my child is safe if I'm not there? Well, I have to give her the tools. Well, how do you do that? I have to teach her. What will you teach her? How to use a gun, how to use her fists, how to, But there is a beautiful scene, and I believe that's in episode 6 or 7, where she tells Tali that she wants her to use her brain, her head, to think before she, basically not be reactive. And I think that's such a smart piece of advice. And what you see is the child at that moment thinking of that and going, okay, well, no one's left behind. You don't leave family behind. She starts threading those ideas, and then she's like, well, I have to think. How do I get out of this? And you start watching that brain do exactly what mom has conditioned it to be, which is rise above the reactionary thing and think, how would a pro tackle this situation? And she does. I mean, she rises to the occasion.
And then she remembers what Redford did in 3 Days of the Condor. And she's like, that's it, Dad's movie reference.
Exactly. Well, I'm all out of time, but can I ask one last favor? My wife is the biggest NCIS fan in the world. She's freaking out that I got to do this interview. Could we just wave to the camera and say hello to Melissa?
Of course.
Oh, hello, Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
You have a very sweet husband. And by the way, this has been one of our favorite interviews.
Thank you, Melissa, for loaning him to us.
Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.